What's going on, guys? Spud from Survivor Southwest out here at the amazing Evedon Park. Just going to show you how to make up a real quick fishing setup that you don't have to stand there and wait for the fish. So this will do a lot of the work for you so you can get on and do other things. Let's get into it. Alrighty, so for this we're going to need a few things. So what we're going to make is what I call an L7 trigger. So an L7 trigger is made up of two sticks. You've got an anchor stick and you've got your trigger. So what it is, you've got one that'll have a ledge on it like that, and the other one will have a ledge on it like that. So what we're going to do is I'll show you how to make them. I'll show you how they set up with a sapling and your fishing line, and we're going to try and help get rid of some of the redfin in this dam. Alright, so first of all, we got to go find our sticks. I've already gone and done that. Alright, so you've got your anchor stick. I haven't cut anything in that, I've just got rid of the bark and trimmed it down. So you're going to want your anchor stick to be quite a bit longer. So if your anchor's only going to be sticking out of the ground that much, you want a fair bit under the ground, purely because you are going to have a trigger line on it that is going to be pulling up. And if you've only got that much in the ground, it's just going to pull out. And then you've got your trigger. So I've got two different ones here. One I've already made up because it was already a trigger before I got here. So I found a stick that had another branch coming out, and what I've done is I've cut that off and I've put a groove up and top and bottom for our ropes. And the other one I'm about to show you how to make. So this is just a plain stick. Alright, so start off, what we want to do is clean it up a bit. Get rid of anything on there that might cut your line or get snagged up and stop the trigger from working. Right, so we've got just a basic stick. So obviously this is going to be our trigger. So we're going to have a rope coming from a sapling, coming down onto that. So we need to cut a ledge into there and taper that off, so we can tie our fishing line onto the bottom there. Right, so when cutting into sticks, I just need something to lean on. Alright, so you just want to put it on something hard and rock your knife back and forward. Just so you can get a nice bit of a deep cut in there. Alright, and then just very small little bits to begin with, just up to the cut, because if you go past the cut, obviously you're not going to get that nice sharp ledge. Now obviously if you can find a stick that's already got something like that other one I had, that had a bit of a branch coming off it, which would make that ledge, that'd be good. It saves doing all this, because it can be a bit time consuming. Okay, and you want to make sure that you get that ledge as flat as possible, because that is what is going to hold onto the anchor, and if it's not flat, it's not going to hold. So as you can see, we're starting to get there. stringy bit there. Alright, so we've got our L shape there. I might take a little bit more of this off, otherwise it might get bound up on the trigger. But that is essentially one part of the trigger. Alright, so that's going to go that way. So it's going to be pulling up. What I then want to do is I want to put a groove all the way around the bottom so I can tie my line onto it. You can drill a hole through it. Obviously I'm using my my Gerber knife today, not my Victronox, so I don't have a boring tool on it. So I'm just making a gouge all through there, and then I'll just shave a bit away up to the line just to give a little ledge on there for our line to purchase. Doesn't need to be too deep, just needs to be enough so your line doesn't slip off when you get on there, because obviously this trap is set up so you can throw your bait out there and walk away and not have to wait for the fish to bite to pull. This is going to do that for you. Now, it's not going to throw the fish out of the water. This is purely just to set the hook and get the fish hooked. And it's a good way for you to fish multiple spots at once if you've got the materials to do it. Right, so that's the one for the bottom. You're going to do the one for the top. Now, depending on what sort of rope or what sort of line you're using as your snare line will depend on how thick you need to make this gouge. So I'm just going to be using an inner core strand of paracord, which is quite thin, to do that, which I'll show you. Once you get a good quality paracord, you can actually get, well, depending on how many strands you got, I use a 7 strand, which means I've essentially got 8 ropes per length. All right, and that there is essentially our trigger. So we have the sapling that we're going to pull down, or the branch. The rope's going to go onto that. That's going to hook up under our anchor, and our fishing line goes on that. So when a fish pulls on that, it springs up. So we got that, and there's the one natural one I found before, which has just got that little branch, which will be perfect. So if nature can provide for you what you need to make, then that's even better. I just thought I'd show you how to make it from a scratch. All right, so now we got our anchor. So I've already cleaned this stick. I put a point on the top and on the bottom just so I can drive it in, and the point on the top so it doesn't fray out. So now I need to make the exact opposite on there. So I need to put a gouge up and out, and then shave that up. So again, now because I'm going to have to hit this in the ground, I don't want to go too deep, but that's good, because if you go too deep, your trigger might be too hard to pull, and you're not gonna hook that fish, and you're just gonna lose your bait. Alright, so just go a bit deeper, bit by bit. Now I'm using quite a hard, dry stick. Obviously if I was using one that was nice and fresh, it'll be a bit easier to cut. This one's actually gone quite hard, so it's quite a bit of a mission to cut into it. And obviously the straighter the stick you can get, the better you're gonna be able to cut these grooves in and have it work, the less you're gonna have to work the stick to get the desired effect. Now normally if I had my Victronox Swiss Army knife on me, I would have cut that down with the saw and then shaved up to it. Because I don't have that with me, I've just got my one survival knife here. What I'm going to do is just keep going, no rush. I don't want to rush this. Alright, and so now I just need to get rid of some of this on the top. Just so my line trigger doesn't get hooked up on it, doesn't get held out. Okay, so I've got my snare there, and basically what's going to happen is that's going to go onto there, which I need to do a bit more trimming to, which I can use that one. That's going to hook up under that like that, a line on top, my fishing line there, and that's just holding it, which is what I want. Alrighty, welcome back. So what I've done is I've tied my paracord up to a branch up there which has got a fair bit of spring to it. So now I'm just going to set the trap. Right, so I've got my anchor. Now you want this to go so this is quite soft, so I might have to go on a bit of an angle. Alright. Then you want to tie your string onto your trigger. So if you don't have two bits of string, you can do this with one and use the rest of your paracord around for the fishing line as well, because it will work as fishing line. But because I have my fishing kit out of my survival kit here, I'm just going to use a bit of monofilament and a soft plastic. So essentially that made that a little bit too, need to let some of that out. I don't want it to be too tight, because as I said, this is only to set the hook in the fish's mouth. It's not there to try and flick it out of the water. If you try and flick it out of the water, you're probably going to lose the fish, because it will just spit that hook, or it'll just rip it out of the fish's mouth. Alright, that's about perfect, so I'll tie it up there. So that will just stay there like that until, oh, obviously I got to attach my fishing line first, but that'll stay there like that until something comes along and pulls that, and then that's going to spring up and pull that fishing line tight. So then I just get my fishing line out, just tie that onto there. This fishing line probably needs to be replaced. It's been coiled up in the back of my car for quite a while, so it is pretty tight when it comes to the ringlets in it. Okay. Okay, and you want to make sure that that's not going to come off the bottom of your trigger as well. Okay. And then we attach your bait. So anything like bugs you found, crickets, worms are always good, maggots are fantastic. I have some soft plastics in my survival kit that'll work in both fresh and salt water. So I'm just going to use one of them today, because I'll go into foraging for bait in another video, just purely to keep this one as short as possible. Alright. So we have our bait. So what we do now, simple. We set it. Alright. Trigger set. Bait's in the water. Alrighty, so I've just set the trap and I'll just show you what I've done. Alright, so I've tied a bit of paracord up there. Now that is already sprung loaded, it's already bent down. And it goes down to our L7 trigger. Alright, now you'll be able to see the L7, but they slot in. Now that is only just holding. So that's what that groove was for at the top, and the one at the bottom. So what's going to happen now is my fishing line's out in the water. Once the fish pulls that, I'll show you. So that immediately sprung up, pulled the line tight, and that would set the fish hook in the fish's mouth. So that there is a very simple little set and forget little fishing system, just to set the hook in the mouth, so you don't have to sit there out in the sun and wait for a fish to bite before you can pull it up. And there's the first one I set up over there, which is still going. Not having much luck today, but the idea of this video was to show you this setup. And of course I'm waiting. That's probably why I'm not catching anything, because I'm waiting. But as with all survival things, especially when it comes to hunting and trapping, there is a lot of skill, there is a lot of knowledge, but a big part of it is luck. You need to be where the animals are in order to catch them. So if I'm not where the fish are going to be, then I know I'm in the wrong spot and I'm not going to catch anything. But at least this will continue fishing after I've gone off to do something else. So I'm not sitting there all day for something that may not happen. I can go and find water, I can go set another trap, I can go collect some other bits and pieces to eat while this is doing the work for me. So this is an excellent sort of little exercise to do. So I'm calling it quits for the day. Didn't catch anything, but as with any sort of survivor situation where you're trapping and hunting and trying to find animals or meat or something like that to eat, a lot of it also comes down to luck as well, especially fishing. If you're in the wrong spot, or if the fish aren't biting when you're there, everything like that, it's going to be very hard to catch them. Fishing is not a guaranteed source of food. So I'm calling it quits. Unfortunately didn't catch anything today, but I could leave those 2 snares I set up, I could leave them there and they'll still continue fishing overnight. So that is the simple way of setting up a couple of snares. Once again, I'm Spud from Survive at Southwest. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share my videos. You never know when these skills might save yours or someone else's life. Until next time, champs.